The sea is a mysterious place. It's greatly unexplored to this day, so it isn't unusual to stumble upon weird things down there, especially the deeper you dive. Today, we found some creatures you certainly haven't heard of, so dive into our countdown of 7 of the most bizarre. Imagine not having a mouth, but taking in food another way. The giant tube worm uses bacteria in its system to eat, but those organisms are inside its body. How does it have dinner without having a hole to shovel it into? More on that a little later. It's all part of the bizarre life this creature leads. 5,000 feet, 1.5 kilometers at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. Not discovered until 1977, the tube worm, or Riftia pachyptilla, is protected by a tough tubular exterior made out of stuff called chitin, which is 4 centimeters, 1.6 inches in diameter. The worm itself can grow up to 2.4 meters, 7 feet 10 inches, in length, so it's not something you'd miss if you were swimming around down there. Not that the bottom of the Pacific is that hospitable of a place. These guys live near areas known as hydrothermal vents. This is when water gets down through the cracks and is then spat back out by volcanic forces. The water is very hot and packed with chemicals and minerals which the tube worms love. The team who stumbled upon these vents were amazed that anything could survive in this type of environment. Our bizarre friend here proves them wrong. However, the tube worm does rely on these smoky black vents to exist. Once they go cold, the worm sadly dies. You'll have no doubt noticed that striking red tentacle thing sticking up out of the top of the tube. That's its plume. And as it waves around in the water, it comes into contact with elements in the sea such as oxygen and hydrogen sulfide. The bacteria inside the worm feed on this stuff through the plume. By the way, it looks blood red because of all the blood concentrated inside. The inner bacteria are a separate life form to the worm itself, meaning they work together in symbiosis. And that's good news for the other little creatures who actually chow down on the plume. The Pacific is definitely a lot weirder than it looks. Though if you're after something even more bizarre, then check out the mimic octopus. If there are any talent contests in the ocean, you know the mimic octopus is going to win them. Don't know what we're talking about? Well, what it does is impersonate other creatures. Its scientific name is Thumoctopus mimicus, and the 8-legged guy can be seen in the Indo-Pacific region, though has also been spotted around the Great Barrier Reef. We didn't know about this extraordinary marine animal till 1998. It uses sacs of pigment, or chromatophores, to not only change its color but also texture. And as the octopus is so intelligent, it alters its shape too. So far, we've seen the bizarre creature imitate no less than 15 other things. These include the likes of jellyfish, starfish, eels, something called a furry turkey, and also static things like rock and coral. Not bad for something that reaches a fairly small 2 feet, 60 centimeters in length, and grows no wider than a pencil. Its own coloring is typically beige, quite bland, but the mimic octopus leads a pretty exciting life, so is entitled to be a little boring when off duty. But it seems our subject isn't the only talented creature in the water. In 2012, a case was recorded where a jawfish fooled a passing mimic octopus into thinking he had an extra tentacle. Following the octopus along and waggling its body, the jawfish pulled off a cool trick. Another bizarre detail about this octopus is its eyes. They've got horns sticking out of them, like something out of a horror movie. Speaking of scary sights, how about this one? The black swallower. This deep-sea snake-toothed fish found across the world is bizarre but also terrifying. Not so much to humans, but if you happen to be around the same size as the swallower, around 25 centimeters, 9.8 inches in length, then watch out. In fact, watch out if you're bigger also. Believe it or not, the black swallower, scientific name Thiasmodon niger, is capable of eating things twice its size and 10 times its length. That's not good if you're, say, 10,000 feet, 3.048 kilometers, down in the North Atlantic. The creature has been compared to a boa constrictor, and its appearance gives some idea of how it achieves these gory feats. Note the large jaw used to grab prey by the tail, and most importantly, that big belly. The fish swallows the unfortunate meal using its teeth as a grip. But from there, the horror is only just beginning, because once the prey is in the swallower's stomach, the belly expands and turns into a transparent bag of sorts. So the seabed gets a horrible view of the food being digested. They don't have to put up with that for long, however, as gas is soon released and the predator starts to float. The black swallower rises to the surface of the water. A fisherman once noticed it in this weird digestive state back in 2007. It's bizarre, but also mysterious, as experts have yet to examine the world of the black swallower properly. Another strange creature that we know a little about is a fish that turns the tables on fishermen. How does it do this? Keep watching to find out. The Lasiognathus dinemma is a species of anglerfish, or to be more precise, a wolf trap angler. It makes our bizarre rundown due to its weird habit of catching other fish. It does this through a long pole on the top of its head, which is coated in light-producing bacteria. A scientific name for this is Elysium, and it's been known to stick up 1.8 inches or 45.7 millimeters. The natural fishing rod or lure, which glows, is very helpful in the anglerfish's natural environment, deep down in the northern Gulf of Mexico. At between 3,000 and 5,000 feet, 1 and 1.5 kilometers below the surface, there isn't a lot of light down there, but there's a lot of pressure. 2,200 pounds of it, 1 ton, meaning this little thing is tough as nails. Even more incredible is the fact it reaches a maximum length of 3.7 inches, 95 millimeters. What with all that pressure, it must be like putting an elephant on top of a flea. This thing is pretty small, so no wonder we didn't find it until 2015. It's not clear whether Lasiognathus dinemma can move its rod around, but the thinking is it can. Once something is attracted to it, they come face to face with the fish's needle teeth. Interestingly, experts have only encountered females so far. What about the males? Looking at the behavior of other anglerfish, the theory is that the guys may not have a rod of their own. Instead, they attach themselves to the female and act like a vampire, draining her blood. Which leads us nicely, or should that be nastily, to our next choice. The anglerfish is vampire-like, but the vampire squid is definitely the real deal. Vampiroteuthis infernalis, translating as the vampire squid from hell, is another deep-sea resident. It lives around the world and, similar to our previous entry, has a deceptive appearance. There's a difference though. Whereas Lasiognathus dinemma has a pretty fishing rod it uses to catch prey, the 1 foot, 30 centimeter long vampire squid consumes plankton. So, why is it called something so scary? Well, check out how it looks. Like a dark creature of the night, complete with a cape. What that cape is actually webbing between its 8 tentacles. At the end of the tentacles are filaments, slender threads or fibers that pick up tasty morsels. The vampire squid can also be pink in color and decidedly non-vampire-like. Not that many see it in its pink phase, or indeed at all. At between 2 and 3,000 feet, 610 meters below the surface, it's surrounded by darkness. The extreme pressure is bearable for the squid owing to its big gills, low metabolism, and a light, squishy body that floats easily down there. However, when called upon, it can produce a stunning light show to frighten away any hungry visitors. By using what are called photophores on its body, it creates what look like natural fireworks, though the process makes the squid exhausted. Either way, it's a spectacular sight. Another creature that puts on a show is coming right up. The official name for the pom-pom crab is Libia tessellata, though it has other titles, notably the cheerleader crab, which is where the pom-poms come from. The 2.5 centimeter, 1 inch wide crab, which lives in places like the Indo-Pacific, is secured in its shell. But at the same time, it needs extra help to catch food and ward off threats. What look like pom-poms are actually anemones that the crab picks up and holds in its pincers. The tentacles on the anemones not only add to the cheerleader effect, they also grab prey and deliver a sting to any opponents, making them attractive but dangerous. You'd better watch your step too, as unlike others on this list, the crab is found in shallow water. It's said that the crab uses 3 types of anemone, which we guess is the sea equivalent of trying on different gloves. When little beasties aren't available, They've been known to put on sponge or coral on their claws. The pom-pom crab is also referred to as a cleaner because of the bits and pieces its claws can get a hold of. In Hawaii, it's called the indelible flower crab, and with its colorful looks, you can certainly see why. A less beautiful example of a bizarre sea creature is the squid worm, otherwise known as Teothedrodrilla same. It was found in 2007 swimming around the Celebes Sea, part of the Western Pacific. While its name suggests a cross between a squid and a worm, this is in fact a worm. What's wild about it, though, are the tentacles protruding from its head. These 10 extensions, comprised of 5 pairs, are mainly used for breathing. 4 of the pairs are sensory, with the other pairs collecting food. It also has a couple of nuchal organs on its head, which resembles brushes and act like a nose. Factor in the bristles that behave like oars to propel the worm along, and you have something truly bizarre in appearance. The body of the squid worm is 10 centimeters (3.9 inches) long and is thought to be fairly slow in its movements. Its food supply comes from above in the form of marine snow. This stuff is made up of mainly organic material floating downwards, though who knows what it once used to be. Squidworms must be quite clever, as they hang out in the demersal zone, a part of the ocean that's away from the seafloor but also way below the surface. At 6,690 to 9,554 feet, 2,039 to 2,912 meters deep, the squidworm avoids getting shoveled up on the floor, plus it doesn't get caught in things like dragging nets. Strange as it may look, this squid or worm, whatever it is, knows where it's at. As the old saying goes, appearances can be deceptive, which is especially true of these bizarre creatures living thousands of feet under the water. If you liked the video, then click the subscribe button and turn on notifications, and you'll be the first to know when we release a new video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.